Welcome to our live training session number 44. We're going to be learning how to tune a Honda K-Series engine using a Link G4 Plus Fury standalone system. Let's jump into some details about our demonstration vehicle. We're going to find it has a K24 swapped in a Civic EG chassis. Now the engine has been built, so it has a K20 cylinder head. It's been ported and polished from Drag Cartel along with upgraded valve train and Drag Cartel stage 3.2 camshafts. On the bottom end, it's going to be a K24 bottom end. It has forged pistons and rods. It's going to be 12.5 to 1 compression. Now on the induction side of the engine, we have a Skunk 2 intake manifold ported from 4-piston racing. We have a 90mm throttle body and a 3.5-inch cold air intake. We also have a race header with a 3-inch exhaust. So the engine is relatively simple, but it's extremely efficient. It's going to be making a lot of power, as we're going to be finding. Now on the fuel system side of things, we have ID 1000cc injectors, we have an upgraded in-tank fuel pump, external lines, and regulators. So the fuel system is relatively simple. Now we've added some additional sensors so we can use it for fail-safe protection features as well as our calibration process. So we have a 0 to 100 psi oil pressure sensor, a 0 to 150 psi fuel pressure sensor that we're going to be working with and using in our fuel calculations. We have a Bosch LSU 4.9 wideband sensor that we're using built in to the wideband controller for the Link Fury box that we're going to be tuning with. We also have a Bosch flat response knock sensor. In addition to this, we also have a 12-position trim pot that we're going to be setting up and configuring to do a multiple position launch control trim that's going to be driver adjustable. Now, we're going to be mapping this out on E85 or on ethanol-based fuel. We're going to have a lot to cover. There is a lot of setup here and configuration, so let's jump into our very first training tutorial here to learn how to create our base map to get our engine fired off to begin our live training. Welcome to our live training session here with our K24 swapped EG Civic running on Link Fury standalone. Now we just went over all the details of the vehicle. Let's jump into our Link software so we can create our base file and get our training session started. So moving into our Link software here, we're going to find that we have our page layouts, all of our different pages here. That's right from the course directory in the zip file that we've created in the course. So you can download that and follow along with exactly what I have here on screen in the video. Now, this Link Fury is a standalone. It's able to run any kind of engine. So in this case, we need to go into this base file that the Link shipped on the Fury that's just generic. We need to go in and make it specific to this engine that we're trying to control and that we're trying to tune. There's going to be a lot of setup here in this very first video. We need to know the inputs, the outputs, and all the configuration details so it will run a K-Series engine, because again, it's a universal application and the file here is a generic file. So this is not going to be specific at all to this engine. It will not start and run this engine right now in its current state. So we need to go through and configure everything properly. Now, I created a sub-loom or a jumper harness that goes between the stock wiring and then the actual Fury box. And then I've wired all the auxiliaries into the Fury, so the fuel pressure, oil pressure, flat response knock sensor, onboard lambda sensor, trim pot. So all the different things are wired in on sub-looms. So this is basically a plug-and-play setup. Although Link doesn't sell this directly, it's going to be something that I created to do this training tutorial with. Now, because I've created this harness myself, I need to go and document all the inputs and outputs and all the sensor details, which I actually have right here. I created a nice Excel spreadsheet. We can find here the OEM accurate pin here is on the left. And then on the Link side here, we can find a column. That's going to be everything related to all of the functions. We can find the function associated with the OEM pin. And then we can see here if it's going to be applicable. Right now, these two first pins here are showing NA. They didn't use those. But moving down here, we're going to find that I do have most of this all documented, and we're going to find things like analog inputs or digital inputs, or even down here the additional sensors. I've noted what kind of sensor we're working with and then what input it's coming in on so that we can properly calibrate it and everything is going to function right. Something like our fuel pump control or the radiator fan control or VTEC or the variable cam control for the outputs, or going in and working with our inputs, TPS, engine coolant temp, intake air temperature, the map sensor, and on and on. All of that has to be set up right. Right now, again, this file that we're working with here does not take any of that into account. So it's not going to work at all the way this is. So we're going to start fresh. This would be the same if you were creating your own engine harness for a Fury. Let's say you had a race application, you're going to build your own harness, or if you're working with a harness builder, they'd need to provide something like this in an Excel spreadsheet so you know exactly what pin was associated with to what function, and then what sensors would be assigned to the pin. This is just going to keep yourself organized. So we're going to go through this when we're going through the video here in the setup. We're going to be referring back into our Excel spreadsheet here. Again, this is just to keep myself organized so we can do the tutorial here, and everything's going to be very, very neat and very easy to find. All right, so let's move back in here. Let's start off in our config here. We're gonna go through our config page. We need to set this up specific for this vehicle again. So first things first, under fuel main, we're gonna go to the injection mode. We have some options here. We have off, we have sequential staged, we have some multi-point options. What we're gonna choose here is sequential. K-Series engines have a crank sensor, and they also have 2 cam sensors. We know the position of the cam sensor, which means we can accurately inject the fuel when we're looking at number 1 cylinder and knowing the firing order, making sure that we're firing the fuel into the intake valve when it's open rather than when it's closed. So the sequential is what we want to choose right here. So I'm going to grab that option. Now this is going to require us to do a power cycle on these two. So let me do that right now. When we actually do a store, we'll click OK here. We'll do Control S. That allows me to store that. Then I'm going to do a power down. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.